Alright guys, welcome back to another Zoids model kit video. So this is it. This is the video where I'm finally going to talk about my favorite Zoid of all time, and that is the Blade Liger from Chaotic Century. So a little bit of history about this. This is my most anticipated review, the one I've been most excited about, but also the one I've been dreading the most. Because as much as I love the Blade Liger from a character perspective and from a model kit perspective, this is not going to be a 100% positive video. I do have some gripes, and I'll get to those when I get to them. So first things first, let's talk about the character itself. So the Blade Liger was introduced after the first season of Zoids Chaotic Century, the original anime series that debuted in Japan in 1999. So what happened in the story is using the organoid technology. I have the actual organoids that came with this kit. Zeke, the organoid, he was able to transform Vaughn, the main character's shield Liger, into a Blade Liger. So the shield Liger evolved into the Blade Liger, so to speak, which was a really cool sequence because the shield Liger really didn't have that much in offensive capabilities. It just had the underbarrel cannons, and then it had twin missile launchers that deployed from the side, which he didn't really use that much, and it had like a very weak cannon on the top. So not a whole lot of offensive power with the default shield Liger. So when we saw the evolution into the Blade Liger, not only do we get this really cool, really striking design, but we also got the blades that can cut through essentially anything. They're like, lightsabers. They're an energy-based weapon, and we also got the boosters on the back. So that was such a cool addition. The Blade Liger kicked 12 kinds of ass, and it's been my favorite Zoid ever since. So a little bit of history though. The Hasbro Zoids model kits that we got in from 2002 to 2004-ish here in America, the red New Century Zero Hasbro Blade Liger was very hard to find. And I vividly remember as a kid, I'm sure I told the story before on several other Zoids videos, but I had the opportunity to buy that kit, and I passed it up because it wasn't what I was looking for that particular day, and I didn't know how rare it was when I initially passed it up, and I've regretted it to this day. I've always wanted the red Hasbro Blade Liger, but I've never had a chance to get it. So when I realized that Zoids were being discontinued in America and Zoids Fusers was being canceled, for my birthday in 2004, I convinced my mother to order this guy for me from a website that sold the Takara model kits, the Takara Tomy model kits. So that's what we have here with the blue Chaotic Century Blade Liger. So I got this guy, like I said, in June of 2004. So I've had him now for 13 years. And it was the last Zoid model kit I had the pleasure of building as a kid. And it is my all-time favorite piece of anime memorabilia, period. Like the favorite piece of my collection. And then over here on the right, we have the Kotobukiya high-end master model Vaughn Blade Liger with attack boosters. So this kit is a couple years old. It's not nearly as old as the original Takara Tomy one, but this one I got during Anime Week in Atlanta of 2014 and didn't finish building him until probably around March of 2015, something like that. So this guy is relatively new, but he's also the first high-end master model that I ever built, and the first Zoid that I got when I started collecting high-end master models and Modeler Spirit series, and really getting back into Zoids as a fandom after the success of the Zoids Let's Plays that I did. So again, last one I ever got as a kid, first one I ever got as an adult. Cool, right? So let's get on talking about the kits themselves. So I'm going to start off by talking about the boxes and the size difference. So obviously I kept the box for the Takara Tomy one, which I'm really grateful that I did, because it's a really cool box. I like the artwork on it. I'm not going to bring it any closer to the frame because I don't have a whole lot of room to work with here. These are very large boxes and very large kits. But you can see the sheer difference in size with the high-end master model box. This box is absolutely massive compared to the Takara Tomy one. And they're about the same thickness. I know I can't demonstrate that, but they are about, width-wise, they're about the same. So let's focus in on the kit itself then. So a lot of really nice features about this kit. This would have been one of the motorized kits that would have retailed for like $24.95 in America. And I think I had to pay upwards of like $50 for this guy to buy him online, something like that. So again, it's the blue Blade Liger as seen in Chaotic Sentry. So a couple really cool features about it is this one, the little, instead of including the generic Android pilots, it actually included miniatures of Van and Fiona. You can see them inside there. They're unpainted, and they fly around in there all the time. Fiona likes to get stuck in there. And they also came with a little Zeke, a little organoid, which I don't have on screen right here. But he's in a way in a box somewhere. All the fins deploy, which is how the shield would work on the Blade Liger and on the Shield Liger. I can get this one. All the fins open up, and the blades do come down. This one's a little bit loose. I got to be careful. Now the blades do come down like that. Very nice. They can swing forward, which is an attack that he used occasionally. And then even when the blades are up like this, you can bring them forward, and he would shoot from the energy source of the blade. He did that in the anime quite a bit. They don't really rest anywhere in particular back here. I kind of like to keep them tight and looking symmetrical, but again, that's hard because this one on the other side is loose. So very cool. Again, all these joints have held up remarkably well over the years. I hope I've taken good care of this guy. He's a little bit dusty. I just went over him with a dust brush before we began the video. Very, 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 very nice model kit. Easily my favorite of the motorized Zoids. One thing that's really cool about this guy is, if you can hear this, hear the metal clanging sound, die-cast metal feet and fangs, which look really cool. They got that nice like bronze color, and they're solid metal. And let me show off the boosters deploying back here. These work on a really cool principle. When you move the blue armor piece up, it catches you can see the boosters rising like that. Then you can actually reach your hand in there and pull them all the way out. And they are on their own little joint in there, but they also follow a track that is on the, if I can bring that a little bit closer, they follow a track on this piece right here. You can see it like that. So really cool the way that works. Again, this is a motorized kit, which takes, I think, 2 AA batteries, and the legs would move, the mouth would open and close. So the head, because it's on one of the motorized joints, is kind of a little bit wobbly, which is fine. And the tail is on a ratchet joint, which I tend not to mess with that too much. So overall, very nice kit. He's held up remarkably well over the years. And I'm getting a glass display case soon, so I'll be able to put this guy away, and I won't have to worry about the dust too much anymore. Other than that, not too much to say about it. Very, very, very good quality. I only have very vague memories of what building him was like because it was just so long ago. But I do remember the build process was pretty fun. But again, I can't really speak to it too well because it's been 14 years. So, okay. So let's talk about the Kotobukiya. I am stumbling all over my words today. The Kotobukiya high-end master model. So overall, in terms of looks, this guy aesthetically looks fantastic. Couple of things that I like about it better than the original Takara Tomy one is the color of the translucent cockpit is more of the orange that we typically see with a lot of other Zoids, whereas this was like a really awkward looking yellow, like almost like it was faded. But I promise you it was not faded. It was like this when I got it. None of the colors on this faded, but if you look at the box, it appears to be more orange what we finally got with the final product. So that does bother me a little bit, especially with the unpainted pilots in there. It kind of looks a little bit more washed out than it should, whereas with the Kotobukiya one, it's the correct color. And also, even though I've been looking essentially at this one for 14 years, and assuming that this is the correct way that the Zoids should look, the reinterpretation with the high-end master model does usually add a lot of nuance and new perspective to how these Zoids should look. So you can kind of see the comparison. The high-end master model has a lot more. It's the scale is a little bit better. Like the head is smaller and more narrowed, and the legs are a little bit longer. So it's the proportions are a lot better. The tail is shorter and more articulated. I may actually have to take the camera off the stand to show some of this stuff because I actually don't want to handle this guy, and I'll actually come to the point on that a little bit later. So the blue is a little bit darker, and the attack boosters are like the coolest thing ever. Like, I used to think the attack boosters were a stupid gimmick in the anime, but now I feel like the attack boosters are 100% necessary to any Zoid, really, or any Blade Liger, I should say. So overall, the things about the high-end Master Model that I like better than the original is mainly the color scheme, the attention to detail, and the overall aesthetic look of it. And that's about it, frankly, because I have some major gripes with this high-end Master Model Blade Liger, and it doesn't ruin it for me, but it definitely makes it more of a display piece than anything else. I pretty much leave it exactly the way it is and don't touch it. Because the build quality on this thing is absolutely atrocious, and some of that is admittedly probably my fault. I take full responsibility for that because it was the first high-end Master Model that I had ever built, and that was a couple of years ago, in like I said, probably 2015 when I finished building it. So again, that is my fault. I should have built it better. Had I built the same kit again today, I could have built it better. But at the same time, I don't think that's any excuse for some of the issues that I have with it. And I know I'm not alone in this because a lot of other people in the community have talked about this. And I know that a lot of these kits get reissued later, several years down the line with improvements. So I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can speak to it a little bit better if this is a older print run of the kit or if it's a newer one, if it's before changes, after changes, or what you guys think about it. But overall, just the way it is, the build quality is not good. So the legs fall off incredibly easily. The feet fall off incredibly easily. If I pick him up, this foot is barely attached. I can actually wobble it a little bit there. There's a bad gap right there in his snout, which is probably my fault. I'm going to attempt to pick him up and bring him closer to the camera. I'm going to move this one out of the way so I don't bump into him. Yeah, overall, you see the joints already sag as soon as I do that. There is an insane amount of articulation and joints and posability on this guy, which is really, really cool. But I'm afraid to even pose him in any kind of meaningful way because I know he will not be able to hold the pose with how fragile these joints are. So the feet come off incredibly easily. I can probably, yep, there it goes. I can show that off. And again, maybe it was because I was new to the high-end Master Models and I didn't understand the the way the sockets worked, because there's like rubber socket pieces that are very important to the construction. And so you can't leave those out. Oh, there we go. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, it's really bad. So again, I'm not going to attempt to deploy the blades or anything. But there's a lot of really cool points of articulation on here. So the knees bend. There's pistons in the shoulder joints to allow the shoulders to bend in and out, and the leg can still maintain its stability. Of course, that doesn't really work well with mine because, well, you still have all of the points of whoops. And I think that pretty much speaks for itself right there. His front and back legs just gave out on me, and a piece fell off. So. Yeah, that pretty much speaks for itself right there, just how flimsy and fragile this thing is. I'm going to attempt to fix it really quick. This is getting just a little bit ridiculous here. Kind of regretting taking this guy out today, but it had to be done. It had to be done. So one thing I did with the head for this guy, and again, my friend Cheyenne, who's also a Zoids fan, told me about the glue that you would get for these kits if you need to glue pieces down. I have only really had to glue pieces down on this kit. The other HMMs I've had, I've not had to glue pieces down. We can open up the cockpit really quick and I can show you guys the inside. So it has this nice control console there, which looks really cool. And you actually have a painted Vanna Fiona little miniature figure there, which looked really cool, and the seat looks really cool. Overall, very, very nice what they did with the cockpit there. But yeah, unfortunately, the whole head is pretty much glued together. You can maybe see the shine from where some of the glue is. And again, the fins on the side, I completely broke that bottom one. That's why it's not on there. So it's on the other side, but this bottom one right here, broke that completely while trying to assemble it. Just with my modeling pliers, the modeling pliers that you're supposed to use with this type of thing, completely broke that. So that's unfortunate. Okay, so approximately 10 minutes later, and this piece of crap is finally put back together. So as you can tell, I'm pretty salty about this. I really don't care for it very much. Would I recommend this guy? Yes, if you can build it better than I could, sure. And again, it was the first time I'm really talking about HMM, so I guess I have to hit on a lot of the key points there. So there's a couple different sizes of HMM, although they're not really classified in the same way that the Takara, Tomy, and Hasbro ones were. So in the other generations, you just had like the wind-up ones and the motorized ones, and those are your two different sizes. With the Kotobukiya HMMs, you have a variety of different sizes, and they're all to scale against 1/72nd scale, the same scale as the Takara, Tomy, and Hasbro ones. So, and they're meant to be very difficult. They're on par with a perfect grade, master grade, perfect grade Gundam around that area. Probably more like master grade, I guess. Maybe you guys can speak to that a little bit better. But yeah, they're very, very, very challenging builds. A lot of times that's a welcome challenge, although if I have just built an HMM, I will usually take a break and build something easier next. I won't build two HMMs back to back. So a lot of times the Star Wars Bandai model kits I'll build in between these guys because they're just so time consuming to build. It's also why last year I bought that Koenig Wolf, which is the Hasbro one, because it was something much easier to build after I just finished the Lightning Sykes. But again, I'm happy to report that the HMMs are definitely the way to go in terms of modern Zoids collecting, because they're a little bit more readily available. They're definitely expensive, but at least they are available and you can find them genuine. There are a lot of bootlegs out there, so be aware of that. And if you can, build them with some practice, you can certainly build them a lot better than I built this one. All of the HMMs I've built since this one have been fine. They've been very stable. They've had great articulation. I've still been a little bit worried about posing them too much, but I definitely don't have the problems like I have with this guy. The Lightning Sykes, the Shadow Fox, and the Command Wolf, I can at least pick them up and not worry about all of their legs falling off, which is what I have to worry about with this guy. So I may, if I really get fed up with this guy, I may just end up gluing some of his joints together so that I know he won't fall apart, and he'll sit in that glass display case beside my pride and joy over here. So like I said, even though I was not able to get the red Hasbro Blade Liger back in the day, I'm going to move the camera ever so slightly, I was able to find something else. So wouldn't it be great if I had another chance at building the Kotobukiya HMM Blade Liger and built it right this time? Well, guess what? I may have that chance. So eventually, this is the next HMM I'm planning on building, which is the HMM Blade Liger with attack boosters, the Leon version. This is a renewal, as it says on the box here, so this is a reissued one with different art on it. I haven't built this guy yet, but it's going to be the next HMM I'm going to build. So you probably won't see a video about this guy for a long time. I'm going to do the videos on the HMMs I've already built before I get to this guy, but you guys can look forward to that probably in a couple months. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time with the Lightning Sykes.